So I'm trying to measure the runout on my rotors in the rear here. This is the one where I put a new spindle in. And first thing I'm going to do, I tried this a week ago or so, and I looked at the video and it was a lot of runout. But what I didn't do is I only had like two nuts here, and I didn't tighten them very tight. So I'm going to hit them with the impact wrench to at least make it snug. Okay, so that should be tied up against the spindle. And what I've done is I have 5 lug nuts, one of which has a washer on it, and I'm always going to start and stop with that one at the 12 o'clock position. I've marked the doesn't show up very well, but I marked the rotor right here, and what I will do is I will measure the runout, then I'll take it off, put this back at 12 o'clock position, and shift it 1 bolt hole over, measure runout. Hopefully I can play it back on the camera and see it immediately. I may have to just video it and take each one, go load the videos onto my computer so I can see it better, and then go from there. So I'm going to zero out this dial. And I'm going to focus in on the dial, and I will be able to count the number of lugs that pass it, so that I'll know where exactly this was positioned when I turned the wheel. The easiest way to turn that wheel is to just turn the input shaft to the differential very slowly and watch the lugs as they go around. So I'm turning it clockwise at the front of the differential, which is actually making it be, what would be a forward motion. So may have to crawl out from underneath the car here to make sure that I've made at least 1 whole revolution. I can't see the one with the washer on it. I'm gonna have to, from now on, put that washer further out on the stud. Although that's probably not a good idea, because then it'll block the view of the dial. Can't win. Okay, that's the starting one coming up to 12 o'clock. I just need to turn it a wee bit more. Didn't quite bring it up yet. That looks to be about 5 thousandths different from where I started, which is really weird because I'm just a little bit away from it. Wish there was a better way to turn it. Oops. This is gonna get old crawling under the lift in order to get under there to turn it. Okay, we're back where we started. And we're not at 0. That's interesting. Gonna stop this recording right now and play it back. You won't see that, but I will. So I was able to watch the video and look at it, and it looked like it jumped out immediately when I started turning it, and then stayed within about 5 thousandths. And I don't know why that would have done that. It doesn't appear to be in play from the bearing, but I am going to do this again. And what I've figured out is that since I have a 3.36 gear ratio in the differential, that if I turn that about 9 turns, the input shaft to the differential, that should give me about 3 revolutions on the axle, and that will give me a better idea of how much runout there really is. So I'm going to do like 9 turns on this. Half. 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9. Should be approximately with the same stud at the top. And I'm not quite there yet. Maybe my math is bad. I think my math is bad. I think I need 10 revolutions. So I've got 9, 9.5, Yep, that's about right. That is about right. It's a little bit troubling that when I do the, well, could go just a teeny bit further. I'm a bit off from 0, which is where I should be. Back to I need a mirror out there so I can see where that thing is without crawling under the left every single time. Okay, that's pretty good. And it's not quite back to 0, but I've got 3 revolutions. I should be able to play it back on the computer and watch it. So I'm going to take that off. Going to move the rotor 1 stud clockwise, run it again, and hopefully I'll get a position that's right within the tolerances and I won't need a shim at all. Okay, I've got my mark over here. I moved it 1 stud, and I've got my indicator set to 0, more or less, so I'm going to zoom in on that and go give her about 10 turns. One half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10. And if I'm off, it's because I think I might have lost track. And counted, yeah, I counted 1/2 turn that I didn't actually make. I'm a little bit past. Okay, I am going to, before I do anything, I'm going to turn that over until I get it up here again. I can turn it that way. The problem that I have with doing that in order to do the measurement is I think that I could be moving this. When I shouldn't be. Might get bad readings there. I think the readings will be truer if I turn it from the differential. So I will move this 1, I guess you couldn't see me pointing, I'll move that mark one stud and do it again. So I've got my mark down here. I did do something different this time. I tightened this gauge better onto the bracket that it's on. I think that might have been a cause of some of the fluctuation in the readings. So here we go again. I may have to do all the way back up, including the first two again, just to get accurate readings now that I've tightened that gauge on the stand that it's on. 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10. Yeah, it's still setting a little different from where it was. I don't know why it's not going back to 0. You would think it should be there, but at any rate, because I have 3 revolutions now, I think I've got a good idea of how much the runout is. I'm going to move this and do it again. After doing this a few times, it's pretty easy to make that switch to the next slot. So I will be taking this and putting it on my computer and analyzing it very carefully. 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10. Now we're off the other way. Okay, I will move it here this time, so that's actually the 5th one I've done. I will go back and probably do the first 2 again with the dial indicator tightened better there. One half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10. Well, I'm a little bit beyond here. I don't know if I can turn it backwards. I guess I should be able to. Again, as soon as you start playing with this, there's that much play. So I think probably the best way to use the most accurate measurement might be the middle one, but I'll see when I do the analysis. So I'm going to move it from there. Move my mark from here to here, which was the starting point, and do that one and that one so that I have all of them with the gauge tightened in the holding device. Okay, we're back to the starting point where the mark was. I'm doing it again because of the gauge being loose. So 10 revolutions. It actually takes it a little beyond 10 to get that back to the top. 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10. Don't drop it. Okay, I have my mark here. That's about the 1 o'clock position. Gonna zoom in, give it the 10 turns over there. And that'll be it for this side. Then I have to go do it on the other side. I may or may not post all of these, but I'll post enough to give you an idea of the process. 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10. Okay, that should give me enough readings on this side to be able to make a decision on which is the best starting point, and then if I have to shim, I'll shim the least. So I'm going to take this down from this side, I'm going to put it on the other side, and we'll go through the same process. Okay, so I took the videos up of the Runout where I was recording the gauge up to the house and loaded them on my computer so I could see them well. And as it turns out, this last position that I had this in, where my little nick is there, I don't know if you can see that on the video, but that nick told me which orientation I had the thing in. And it does seem like you can probably see it. I'll point it out again, right here. So since the spindle is new and I didn't have it referenced for orientation, and now if you were paying attention to the last clip when I ran the Runout for that orientation, it was about 4.5 thousandths and the limit is 5 thousandths. So that coupled with the fact, and that's for the lip style seals on the brake calipers, that coupled with the fact that I'm putting O-ring seals in, which are much less prone to sucking air into this brake caliper, I'm very happy with 4.5 thousandths of Runout. But now, since this is a new hub, I want to put a reference mark here so that if I ever have to take this rotor off, then I can be sure I can put it back in the same orientation. So I'm just going to take and grind a little mark there. One mark on the passenger side, I put 2 marks on the, one mark on the driver's side, I put 2 marks on the passenger side. So just a little nick there, and a little nick. It's probably not a good idea to do that from there because the guard is missing from this grinder. It would be shooting sparks right at me. So now, as long as the reference marks are between these 2 studs, which this one won't move, that one could move if I take it off. So that's where I am going to leave it. And I'm going to insert this part of the clip. And I didn't have it in the frame. Here's the mark here. As long as it's between these 2 studs, this mark is, we're good. So if I take this rotor off, put it back on, I can put it on in the same position, and I'll be sure that the Runout hasn't changed. If I get a new rotor at some point, what I'll do is I'll check the Runout on it, and wherever it ends up being the best position, I'll just make another nick in the new one to line up with that, and I'll be able to take that one off and on. I don't really expect I'm going to have to take these off though, except I am going to take them off before I put the brakes on, because I'm going to take it off and I'm going to spray brake cleaner on the rotor face. So it will have to come on. That's how I'll know where it goes back on. The passenger side is already indexed with 2 marks, so that I won't take, if I take them both off at the same time like I did during this RestoMod, I'll know that the one that has 1 mark goes on this side, the one that has 2 marks goes on that side. So the next clip that will show up on this video as loaded to YouTube will be the one I took when I checked the Runout on the passenger side. So if you hear me talking about I'm gonna go look at the videos on my computer or anything like that, it's because I made this segment after I made those segments. So it is what it is. So on the passenger side, I'm starting with my 2 little marks up here, same relative position as the last time. On the driver's side, I'm going to zoom in on the dial indicator and go give her my 10 turns. One half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10. That's sitting almost at 0. So I'll move it 1 stud and repeat. Okay, I am running this same test again because with it here, which is where it originally was, keep in mind this is the one that had been done before and it has a shim under it. I put it back in the same place that the shim was originally. I ran it again and very little runout. So this might be good, but I want to make sure that I've got enough of this pin sticking out here so it has room to travel either way. And I'm going to turn that over again 10 times. And if that shows me as little runout as it did on the other time, I'm done here. I'm not doing any more playing around with it because it's near perfect as far as I can see. So time to go under the lift and give her my 10 turns on the input to the differential. half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10, a little bit for good measure. Now I'm going to review that. And like I said, it looks as good as it did. It's essentially back to zero, so maybe it does. So I will shut that camera off, review it, and hopefully that's a wrap for the passenger side. So after reviewing the passenger side, I'm done with that. It is near perfect. I am going to look up the specs on what the Runout's supposed to be, but that looked to be about 2 thousandths, and I think the Runout has to be under 4 thousandths if my memory is correct. So I'll look that up, and I think I'm done here. So I just checked the shop manual, and the Runout spec is 5 thousandths of an inch maximum. The passenger side was well under that, and if my eyes were correct on the driver's side, the only one I looked at was the original position of that I had put the rotor onto the spindle at, and that was just putting it on because it was a new spindle, so I had no idea where it should have gone. But it looked like that first reading, which was the only one I looked at, might have been 5 thousandths. So I might be good on both of these without shimming them. I'll have to load these onto my computer, get a better view of it, examine it more closely on the driver's side. I'm done on the passenger side, no question. So that's good news. It was a good idea to mark those rotors, which I marked the rotor here by making 2 nicks in it, and I made 2 nicks here on this spindle so that when I took this off, and I also had magic marker 2 marks on the shim that's in there. So everything I took off, I knew went back in the same place, and the results kind of amazed me. I didn't realize that it was that good. So I'm glad of that, and I may or may not have a follow-up video to this to explain what I found on the other side. When I say follow-up video, I don't mean another video. I mean I may take another clip and add it to this video after reviewing everything that went on the driver's side. So that's it for now.